Hey everyone, research shows that there are 60 to 90 applications installed on every smartphone. Those are typically shopping apps, banking apps, news, social media, entertainment, stock market apps, and majority of them are data-driven apps. Let's take a look at stock market apps. As you all know, this application needs internet to connect to the server in order to fetch the data. This is how a typical application looks like. Data is shown on the screen in the form of graphs and text, and this data comes from the server. Application constantly need to request server in order to get this data, and then server responds the application and return the requested data. This is the typical example of client server architecture, where a mobile is a client and is talking to the server. There can be multiple clients talking to the server at the same time, and server would serve everyone. For the client, server is a black box. It just asks for the data. Client don't have to be concerned in which language server is implemented. Similarly for server, client is a black box. Server don't have to know how client will show the data in UI, in which language client application is implemented, etc. Server's job is only to listen the request and provide the requested data. Server application could be implemented in Java, Python, C# or any other backend language. And client application could be implemented in HTML, Java or any other frontend language. In spite of the different languages, they still communicate with each other. How? They talk using APIs. API stands for Application Programming Interface. Since client app and server could be implemented in different languages, both required common language to talk, so both can understand and communicate with each other. And API provide us the common set of rules that both should follow. Let's move to the definition of API. API is just a concept. It is basically a set of rules that allows program to talk to each other. Let me show you the example of API call. How to call API and how API will respond us back. There are several free websites on the internet to fetch the stock market data. I have opened the Alpha Vintage site. It provides us API for stock market data. You can see documentation. For the website, the requirement is we need to create a key and use it while sending a request. So let's create API key. This is the URL to get the data for particular stock. Let's claim the API first so we can call this URL. This is the API key. We will save it. We will copy the URL and edit the key. Now we are ready to call URL. As per definition, API is a set of rules. Here the rule is we have to call server's function by calling URL, and we should provide our parameters in URL. Server will return the data in form of JSON. It doesn't matter if we call this URL from Java application, Python application, C# or from browser. Each time it will return the JSON data. By the way, JSON is the data format and typically it is in key value pair. Let's check for another symbol FB, which will return the stock data for Facebook. And see, we received the data for Facebook. Cool, we saw what is API, how to call API and how to get data from API. Now we'll see what is REST API. As the API is a set of rules, the REST API is how these rules look like. It is a set of rules that developer follows when they create API. So the website we just saw was the example of REST API. Let's see what are the methods in REST API that developer need to implement while creating the REST API. These methods are typically type of request that you send to the server. These methods are get, post, put, patch, delete. So we will see what these methods mainly used for. Get request is used to get a resource from the server. In the other word, a get request perform a read operation. This is the default request method. Post. If you perform a post request, the server adds a new entry in database. In another word, post request perform and create operation. Put and patch. These requests are used to edit resource on server. In another word, a put or patch request performs an update operation. Delete. This request is used to delete a resource from server. Summarizing, these methods are used to perform 4 possible actions: create, read, update, and delete. These combinations are commonly known as a CRUD operation, in which C stands for create, R stands for read, U for update, and D for delete. So that's it for this video. I hope you understand what is API. API is a concept which says there should be a set of rules while communicating and interacting with different resources, and REST API tells us what those rules look like. In the next video, I'll be showing you how to create REST API using Django. Till then, have a nice day. Bye.